You're listening to the Just Go Bike podcast. We're all about the culture of bicycling just for the fun of it. Your host, Kathy Murphy from the Morphology Podcast and Andrea Parrott from Parrott Talk are joined by a wide variety of guests each week that delve into the social side of cycling. With tales from RAGBRAI Nation, come for the bikes, stay for the fun, and leave with a smile. And now, here are your hosts, Murph.
Hey, that's me.
And AP.
And that's me. Oh, Murph, what a party.
Woohoo! I can't believe the route has been announced.
That's right. It's out there for the whole world to see.
Wow. What do you think?
I'm so excited. I love this route. I love a southerly route. It's one of my favorites. We'll get into why later, but
yeah. And it's, I mean, I think I said this in previous episodes where, like, for me, I'm going to do RAGBRAI no matter what. So, like, I'm always excited to find out about the route, but truly, I'm just excited no matter what.
We're going to get some good biking done.
Yeah, we sure are. And so we wanted to talk about a little bit of a deep dive into the route. Our listeners love to hear it. And so we snagged Mr. Matt Phippen, the executive director.
Hello.
Hello. Thank you so much for taking the time. I know now that the route is out, you're probably, well, you're famous and you're a celebrity anyway.
I don't know about that.
But now it's like probably just nonstop action.
Yeah, it's. I don't think it ever gets slow. I mean, there's definitely times where it lags a little bit, but it's always moving forward.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's one of my favorite. I don't know about you, but that's one of my favorite things about the job. It's always exciting.
Yeah, there's always something for sure.
Yeah. So Route Party Expo is over and done with, and we now know where we'll be going for RAGBRAI LI. Do you want to tell the listeners who maybe live under a rock
that
and haven't
don't
heard
know where
yet?
we're going? We are going south, southern route. We haven't been there for a while. A lot of roads and hills that riders will go, oh, I remember this, from back in the day. There's not a bad area in Iowa to go. There are harder areas to go and easier areas, but I think with this year's route, you have days where they're somewhat flatter than others, and there's days that are hillier than others. So I think it appeals to a lot of different style of riding. But no, I think from a mileage standpoint, it's shorter than what it was last year, which that helps the process out. But there are some hills, so that will add some challenges too.
So are you saying we should still train for RAGBRAI?
You shouldn't have stopped from last year. You should have just kept rolling from 50 into 51 for sure.
Yep. Phipp put a little spice in it. He spiced it up.
All right. I love it.
Yep.
Well, I have to say, congratulations on a great route. Congratulations on putting it all together and making something that's going to be really fun for everybody in July.
Yeah, this route has evolved. I mean, we started talking to the DOT and State Patrol, right after the 50th, and it's changed a bunch. But all changes were positive, and they moved the ride in the right direction. Obviously safety is our number one focus, and putting riders on roads that are going to be safe or safer than the road that we are on plays a big role. But, working with, the DOT and now counties earlier than they've ever, had the route discussed with them, I think is a win for us. But yeah, it's definitely going to be a challenging route for 51.
Yeah. But for a rider like me, when you force me to learn the route ahead of time, because I don't usually like to learn it early, but it put a big smile on my face. I just love that hilly riding, and it's gonna be a ton of fun.
Yeah.
Will you tell the listeners the actual overnight towns?
I will. You want to tell them right now?
Yeah, just give us
So I think we're going to start this year. The ride starts in Glenwood. Glenwood this will be their 8th time hosting. They're a smaller community. I think they're a little over 5,000 people. They first hosted in 1980. So the year that I was born, they were on the first one, that RAGBRAI that year. And the last time they hosted was 2016. So it's been just a little bit of time. But that first day, Glenwood to Red Oak will be an easy first day. I mean, it's 44 miles. It's 3,000 feet of climb, so it's not a terrible day. It still will be hills, but I think having 44 miles and the elevation will be a good warm up for riders to kind of knock any dust off that's on the bike and get the legs moving in the right direction. And it's not going to hit them hard.
And I do want to point out, if you look at a map of Iowa, Glenwood is actually not on the Missouri River.
It's not.
But I need to have everyone calm down if they're really worried about dipping their tires in the Missouri River, because in the past, those communities that are not right on the river usually bring the river to us.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we don't have to worry about that.
No, we'll be fine. There'll be plenty of troughs to dip your tire in and get going that way. But it just costs too much to excavate all the ground to bring the river closer to Glenwood. So we decided to bring troughs in and do it that way. But it's easy. But I guarantee you will be able to dip your tire at the end.
Yeah.
And fun fact, Glenwood, home to many wonderful people, but also Saber Nagel, the director of Ride the Rockies.
Oh,
Yep.
so cool.
So just want to give her a shout out.
Okay, cool.
I agree that first day is going to be really fun. It's going to be a nice way to like sort of gear check both yourself and your bike.
Sure.
Are you fit enough to do what's upcoming? Is your bike ready to do what's upcoming? I ask you to really assess yourself on that first day and assess your bike and make sure that you're good to go, because we got a little something in store for you later down the road.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, my wife tells me I'm not a good listener, but I try to be a better listener when the riders talk about what they want on the ride. And, mileage is always a big one. Having days that are super long not only hurts the riders, but it actually puts our teams in a bad spot.
Yeah.
So, day one having a 44-mile day, isn't terrible. And then day two, going from Red Oak to Atlantic, it's 40 miles and, not as much elevation. So, Red Oak, a little bit bigger town than Glenwood, a little over 5,000 people. This will be their 5th time hosting. They hosted their first time in 1976, so a while ago, and the last time was 2009. So it's been a bit since we've been back to Red Oak. But 40 miles from Red Oak into Atlantic, 1,700 feet of climb, not a terrible day. So I think having back-to-back easier days will slowly get riders building up for it. It's gonna get hard. There's gonna be elevation somewhere. It's coming.
Right.
But I think if you train prior and then you take those 2 days as kind of warm up days, knowing that day 3 you'll start seeing more hills on day 3.
Yeah.
And I think hopefully we can get back this year to where the SAG drivers have boring days instead
where they're
of crazy
sleeping on the
days.
side of the roads and not.
Yeah.
I would love to see that. That's fantastic because they didn't sleep last year. They were moving.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I'm not going to have a famous person from every town that we go to, but Red Oak is home to Bill Zener, who is a Iowa State Patrol person, a trooper who worked on RAGBRAI 2 through 40. Wow. So he is famous in the RAGBRAI world. So shout out to Bill. Yeah.
Yeah, so Tuesday we will leave. Obviously, like I said, Monday going to Atlantic. Atlantic is the bigger community so far, almost 7,000 people. This will be the 8th time that they've hosted, so they know what they're doing there. First time was in 1974. Last time was in 19. So it's been a bit, going back to them. That team they're going to be fun.
Yeah.
They're going to be fun to work with. They're super excited and like they're moving in the right direction. But when you get into Atlantic, it's a night to rest up, make sure you're in a good spot, because the next day going into Winterset, it's 79 miles and 4,384 feet of climb.
Wow.
So 2 days early on, kind of easier rolls, and then now you're experiencing the hills of Southern Iowa.
So Phippen is just lulling us into complacency, and then he's going to hit them.
They're going to hit them hard.
Hit them where it hurts.
Well, I was just going to ask, are there actually mountains?
I wouldn't say there's mountains, but there's some pretty good hills.
Is there?
Yeah,
Okay.
There's some grinders.
Okay.
But you've heard it in January, so there's no surprises when you come in July.
Exactly.
You don't know what's going on. So, that ride into Winterset is a longer day. It's the second day as far as the longest mileage, but it is the first day for overall elevation. So it's going to be the most elevation in one day. So 4,384 feet is no joke. Winterset is a town of, over 5,000. This will be the second or third time they've hosted. So a newer community, a community that still can easily pull it off. First time was 1991. Last time was in 19. So like I said, with a lot of these other towns, it's been a bit, but we're going back.
Yeah. And both Atlantic and Winterset are A+ hosts you're going to be taken care of from start to finish on that day.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yep. So riders will get up that morning, Wednesday morning, and day 4 will take them into Knoxville, Iowa. 74 miles. So another, a little bit shorter distance in miles, a little bit less elevation. So almost 1,000 feet less in elevation. So over 3,000 feet of climb. So not an easy day. and bodies will have to be bouncing back from the night before. So they're going to go from, one hard day into another. But that community in Knoxville will be ready to host them. Knoxville, almost 8,000 people. This will be the fourth time they've hosted. First time was in 91. Last time was in 13. So they kind of remember how they did this. But yeah, no, I'm excited to go back to Knoxville. Beautiful community. Obviously, there's a big racetrack there, so I'd love to get on that racetrack and see how fast we can go around that track on bicycles.
I wasn't going to bring it up, but I was really hoping.
Yeah, I want to do that. I think that's a home run. Obviously, with people being able to ride bikes in Kinnick and Jack Trice last year and be able to do that. When you have those, communities that have things that events that bring people in, like the track, you got to go around that track. So super excited for Knoxville.
And RAGBRAI, our pre-ride 2013 was special because it was Matt Phippen and my first pre-ride.
That's right.
So
it was. Yep, it was history.
Bring it on back.
So we'll leave Knoxville. You got 2 hard days back to back, and then you have a little bit easier day with 60 miles. So that's a good chunk. Elevation isn't terrible. 2,500 feet to climb to go into Ottumwa. Ottumwa is our biggest community that's en route this year. Over 25,000 people live in that community. This will be the 5th time that they've hosted. First time was in 84. Last time was in 2016. So a community that knows how to do it, a community that's definitely big enough to pull the event off, and make it happen for riders.
Yeah, I can't wait. I go to Ottumwa on occasion because I pick up the Amtrak there. So
sure.
Look, don't you be taking that Amtrak off of RAGBRAI. Don't
Stay on a bicycle.
Then. Yeah,
for
don't
sure.
leave then. There's more to come.
So we will leave Ottumwa and we'll head into Mount Pleasant. 82 miles. It is the longest day en route this year, so plan for that. Elevation's over 3,000 feet to climb, so it's not going to be an easy day. So you have a long day with a lot of elevation. But Mount Pleasant is super excited to host riders. Almost 10,000 people that live there. This will be the 6th time that they've hosted. 1975 was the first time, so a long time ago, and 2009 was the last time they've hosted. So super excited to go back to Mount Pleasant. And then, we're one day away from our ride being over and returning to reality. So I told you, you'll for sure be able to dip tires. We're going to dip tires in Burlington. So
excellent.
Second biggest town on route, 23,000 people live there. This will be the 7th time that they've hosted. First time was in 79. Last time was in 2019. But this day is 45 miles and 1,000 feet to climb. So, one thing I learned last year is riders want a shorter last day. And when on a map, when you can make it work, we're going to make it work.
Yeah.
So having a 45-mile day with 1,000 plus feet to climb, we'll get riders in. So no one's missing buses. No one's getting left behind like people did last year. And it just takes away some of that stress of the charters and, the people that are there to pick up their riders to be able to get riders in and get them back on the road going home.
Yeah.
So I am not a mathlete, but do you have an overall, I haven't been adding up the mileage and the elevation, but I'm assuming you have that.
I have it for you.
Let's hear it.
423 miles.
Oh.
So less than last year. Last year with the 50th, we did 500 miles.
Yeah.
So 423. Where I take a big sigh is it's 18,741 feet to climb.
Wow.
Yeah. And fun fact, that rivals the Ride the Rockies route.
Yes.
This year. I mean, it's not quite
Wow.
there, but it's close.
But
Wow.
what I didn't expect until Ann told me this will be the hilliest RAGBRAI ever.
Ever?
Ever.
Oh, listeners.
Yeah.
We have to definitely do some training.
Yeah.
But wait, listener, look at me in the eyes. Look at me.
Okay.
Look at me right now. You can do it.
Of course we can.
You gotta train, but you can do it.
Yeah.
Of course.
And, to be fair too, like people are going to say, oh, this is what he's doing. He's trying to find the hardest route possible. And, I really had no idea at the end. Like I didn't know until Ann made that comment. And I'm not building a route to find the hilliest roads. I'm building a route that is safe. I'm building a route that, with roads that are newer or have been fixed or, are getting us to where we need to go. It's not a perfect science to finding the route. The route, like I said, has changed 5 to 6 times since we started doing this. So I feel it's in a great spot, but it is what it is. I mean, you're going south. There's going to be elevation down there.
Yeah.
I do think that there'll be days where it'll be a little bit easier for riders because it is going to be a lot flatter, and there's going to be days where it's going to be a punch in the gut. You have to train.
Yeah.
And I thought, last year we did a good job talking to riders and telling them they have to train, but they didn't listen. You have to train.
Some didn't listen.
Most didn't listen, but you have to ride your bike, and you have to, these towns are going to do everything in their power to show you an amazing experience.
Yep.
You got to do right by these towns and get there in a way that doesn't kill you. So you go right to your tent and fall asleep. And, there's plenty of ways from now to then to train and find those platforms to train it and to do that. But if you show up in July in Iowa and think it's flat and think it doesn't get hot, you're going to be in the hurt locker for sure.
And we will have Coach Ertl on again to talk about some training plans. And of course, he's going to accommodate the extra elevation. So when he is on, make sure that you get that training sheet printed off, maybe put it on your wall or your refrigerator, and keep yourself motivated to bike before the end of July.
For sure.
Well, do you want to touch briefly on how you decided these overnight towns?
Sure. So, I always tell a story I take after the ride is over. I mean, I kind of have an idea where I want to go, but I lay a map on my desk and I just start circling communities that make sense. So, my map is divided into a northern, central, and a southern route, and then there's lines that go vertical from a day standpoint. I can't, this ride is 7 days long, so we can't do it in 3 days. So I got to find 7 communities or 8 communities with Expo Day to host riders. So you start on the west side of the state and you look, okay, here's where I'm thinking south this year. There's only so many communities on that side that can pull this off. So you start looking at, history. When do they perform last for us? How big are they? What projects do they have going on? And, you don't want to call them and say, hey, this is Matt with RAGBRAI. What do you have going on in July? Because it puts them in a bad spot.
Yeah.
So I try to do as much kind of detective work on my end, learning about these communities, and then I start plotting the route. But one thing I've told everybody, and I think I've told you ladies this, a route on paper is a route on paper. It looks great. Mm-hmm. It looks fantastic, but the route is flat on my desk, which means there's no elevation on my desk. So you don't know what you're getting yourself into. The next step for me is getting in front of the DOT, the state patrol, the counties, and talking about the roads that we want to take. And together it's our route. Mm-hmm. It is my route, but I want those agencies to feel that they're a part of this. Mm-hmm. And right now I feel we're in a really, really good spot with them. Like I said, the route has changed a lot. We've had 6+ meetings closed door with these departments. We've brought more people into the mix this year with my pitch was, we need to build a team. We need to have people that are around this that can kind of, be asking questions behind the scenes. So when Matt from RAGBRAI calls, the calls are better received. Mm-hmm. It's not them hearing about it after the fact. They're actually in the mix. So roads have changed multiple times because they've had these behind door conversations with county engineers, and there's a project going on. Mm-hmm. So the route changes. So by the time that we get to a point where I feel really good about the route, there's been a lot of people behind the scenes that have been kind of privy to what's possibly coming their way. They're not saying the route's coming to you. They're saying, if it does, what should we be thinking about here? Which I think is a win for us. This is the first time since my knowledge that the county's engineers have seen it, and they've sworn to secrecy. They're going to keep it quiet as long as they can, because there's still so much that needs to happen after we announce. Sure. That I can't have the secret being escaped. Obviously, when we announce the towns on Saturday, all these towns that are close are going to be going, oh, that's coming to us because we're in proximity. But we'll start working on that after the fact. But no, I think it's, you lay the roads out, you talk to the counties, you do everything that's right in the world to make this route good and safe, and try to throw away anything that could go wrong. We announce in January where we're sleeping, and then things will pop up along the way, and you make changes and you pivot. That's why we don't truly lock the route in until June, because we do everything in our power to lock the overnight towns in, lock the meeting towns in, lock the pass-through towns in, and then we ride it. And then if something happens, that week of pre-ride would be the last time we would make any changes to it. We've been blessed, knock on wood, that we haven't had any major issues, but Mother Nature always plays a role. Yep. And you have to wait to see what she wants to do that month before. But the goal for me is to do as much on our end as possible to set us up for success. So if something does have it, we can easily pivot. The tough part is when you look at a map, there's only so many spots and roads you can ride on. Yeah. There's a lot of roads, not all of them are paved. There's a lot of gravel. So you just can't take gravel everywhere. So you want to do right by the riders and put them on and good roads. So I just feel like right now, The overnight towns are ready to go. The DOT feels really good about it. State Patrol signed off on it. These engineers that I've been working with, positive conversations coming out from them, and we're in a good spot.
Yeah, setting ourselves up for the most success you could possibly have, given the circumstances.
Absolutely.
Love it. First of all, you've announced the overnight towns. Why don't you do the entire route all at once? And what I mean by that is the pass-through towns.
There's still just a lot of moving pieces with that. With a route being done, we could easily do it. And, with our talking with the counties early on, we probably could still do that. It's just there's a lot of work behind it. And I'm not shy about doing work. I would love to be able to drop everything at one time, but I also think that it's also kind of that mystery of, okay, here we know where we're staying,
right,
but how are we going to get there? Because things happen in some of the towns we pass through, and we had pass-through towns that couldn't commit to things because of their projects. So you try to do so much, and the toughest part is it's a secret. It's the biggest, I would call it the biggest gender reveal party that Iowa sees. And, people are looking forward to this announcement. The more people you start talking to, the more it's going to get out. And then you do then find on social media towns that, these RAGBRAI directors think we're going are actually legit towns because they've heard it from someone, because it gets leaked. I'm super proud that, we're at a point now where, there's a lot of wrong RAGBRAI directors on social media that think they know. And, you have, the best part is you get people that are looking at, city council minutes that the mayor said he would like to put in a letter of recommendation for the town that he's a mayor in. It doesn't mean we're coming there. Right. It just means that they want to host. So that's on the radar now. And everybody thinks we're going to that town. And but there's just so many moving parts behind the scenes that the more people you get involved, and this is the most people we've had involved at this point, you add more to it, it will get out, and people then will find out where we're going. And the tough part is that it puts us in a bad spot if we haven't had conversations yet with these towns, because it's just they've already heard, they just didn't hear from us. And I want them to hear from us. So we will announce after the fact. So as soon as we announce, we're literally on the road, traveling across the state. We'll do 20 plus trips across the state, meeting with towns, setting them up for success. But I want to do it right, and I want to make sure that we're successful when it's all done.
And it is the element of surprise and excitement that, makes the end of January so fulfilling. I cannot wait every year to know the route, even though I don't, there's no bad route in my opinion. But I
guess it all depends on who you talk to, because there's we try to please everybody. We try to make it so every aspect of our rider has something fun that day. You just can't take a ride, unless you go to Florida, and I was there, with you for in December. You're on a flat road where you're constantly having to pedal because there's no coasting. It's just different down there, where there's going to be days where you're constantly in the gas going up a hill, but there's going to be times where you're actually freewheeling down the backside and enjoying the view. So we try to bring as much diversity into our route so it hits everybody. There will be gravel options. There'll be longer days. There will be elevation. I'll say it again. There will be tons of elevation. So if you like climbing hills, we'll have that for you. But if you don't, better start training.
Well, and I was just going to ask, and you already kind of answered my question, but will there be both a Century Loop and a gravel option for riders?
There will be. Yep, absolutely. And one of the best parts too is, some of these counties, because we're in a better spot with them, are asking where the gravel option is going to go. And when I ask why, because they have covered bridges and they have things that they want to showcase. So, I think it's fun when you have the county saying, hey, we'd love to put you on this gravel road because this would take riders under a covered bridge.
That's so cool.
That's awesome, right? Where I think in previous years, we just didn't have that level of we want you to go here kind of thing. It's a tourism event. We're bringing riders to these parts of Iowa that don't get seen very often. So to be able to bring riders, under and go through a covered bridge would be awesome. But there's a gravel road that has to take you there. So yes, there will be gravel option. There will be a Century Loop option. Like I said, it's optional,
That's
so you don't have to do it, so nobody's going to freak out. But, there'll be times that there might be some gravel you'll ride on. It's not going to ruin your day. It's not going to be the end to the day for you. But, we're looking forward to getting on as many different road surfaces as possible.
Yeah, and I just want to point out that this whole podcast is the answer to the question, what the heck do you do between the end of RAGBRAI and January? Phippen has been working his buns off to get this route ready for you and to the point where it is today. Not just any route on paper, but a cool, fun scenic route.
For sure.
I love it. Yeah. My next question was going to be any major changes overall from previous years. And the one that's standing out really strong to me is the population of the communities of the overnight towns this year versus last year. So do you want to speak to that at all?
Sure. So obviously with the 50th, we knew that it was going to have record numbers, and we needed to overnight in communities that could easily host those record numbers. Obviously we opened registration already, so we know kind of where the numbers are lying. We've been talking to our charters. We know where their numbers are at. We're getting back to a normal. We're not going to have this, this chaos of 50 to 75,000 people that are going to be on our roads in July. We're going back to a RAGBRAI that we can easily manage and be able to pull off. So, when I'm talking about, 5,000 to 25,000, populations in these communities, these communities can pull it off, and they can do it. As far as the roads are the same roads we've ridden on for 50 plus years. They're not getting any wider. So they're still going to be able to accommodate the ride that way. But I just feel with, what we're doing from a standpoint of making sure they're the right road and making sure they're prepared from, a cleanup standpoint and a patching standpoint, the riders will have no issues on these roads.
And we'll ensure that on the route inspection in June coming up. So.
Yeah.
Of course, yeah. What challenges do you expect to pop up this year as far as maybe safety or road quality?
I think from a road quality standpoint, we're already in a better spot. We're already finding the roads that make sense. Having conversations with the DOT and with the counties, and you can tell if they're not excited about the road that we're going to be rolling on. So my next question is, okay, so if we're not excited about this road, what road are you excited about? And it's changed it. We were on a road that I was driving it in my truck, and it was, I'm not going to tell you where it was at, but it was the roughest road I've ever been on in a vehicle. I mean, in my truck, we were getting bounced around. So, looking at that, we're going, okay, this is a bad road. If I'm getting knocked around in a truck, riders are going to get knocked around on a bicycle.
For sure.
And you talk to the county just is like, you could tell they were not happy about us even thinking about this road. So, between the DOT, myself, and the county, we found a better road. Now, it added a couple miles of distance, but a couple miles saves so much when riders are, getting knocked around, riders are popping spokes and blowing tires. If we can put riders on a better road, we're going to be good. So we're already looking at ways to, make the roads better because we're just finding the right road day one. Now, stuff happens. Obviously, it's 20 plus inches of snow in Iowa.
Right.
Depending on what happens, it's raining and gross. Depending on what happens from now till then, the snow has to go somewhere. The plows have been knocking the roads around and breaking stuff up. So there may be some problems that we see after the fact that need to be fixed. That's why we do pre-ride.
Right.
We ride it in June to make sure that, maybe if we miss something, we catch it on a bicycle and we catch it, not a rider catching it. Yep. So we can fix it by then. But I think the where we win is, being able to just get on the right road first, and then, working towards the June and July to just make sure that road stays in good condition. As far as safety, that's our number one priority, hands down. That's what we talk about in our meetings. No one wants accidents. No one wants riders to get hurt. So we look at every possible angle with, the DOT, with the State Patrol, and with the counties and all those partner agencies, the sheriffs, to make sure that the rides are supported and safe. That will always be an ongoing thing that we're going to look at. It's nothing that, it's one of those things that never goes away. The one thing that you just never know is Mother Nature and how she wants to show up that day.
Wait, shoot. I already promised a rider that you had requested cooler weather.
Well, good.
Sorry.
So hopefully she listens, because she didn't listen last year when I talked to her. But no, you had, 2 years ago, you had 70 degrees. It was beautiful. Yep. And it was like there was no worrying about anything. SAG drivers were on the side of the road sound asleep because no one needed their services. Year 50, it was a whole other monster with the heat and the headwinds, and obviously there's a lot of other things that played in that role. I would love to find something in between. Give me something in between that.
Yep.
And we'll be in a good spot there. But that's why we prepare. That's why we plan. That's why we talk about it. Since after the 50th this year, we start talking about the next ride, because there are so many moving parts that there's really no time off. We're just turning into something that turns into something else, and we're constantly moving forward. But I think that's how we are successful, is we are constantly thinking about what could go wrong. How do we fix this? We have partner agencies that are thinking what could go wrong. How do we help fix this? And together we're making changes to it. So when riders show up in July, we are 100% ready for them.
Yeah. I mean, dear listener, Phippen was talking about 51 at the celebratory party that the crew had after RAGBRAI 50. Like literally the last day of RAGBRAI. Phippen is looking forward to the next RAGBRAI. He has not stopped, like just focusing, keeping an eye on the prize.
Yeah, it all kind of blurs together. I mean, you're constantly, thinking of where should we go next and what should we do, and you have, there is a kind of a bidding process. So we have letters that get sent out, right after the last year's ride to towns that say, hey, do you want to host? And those letters start coming in. So you hope that, the town that you circle on the map is a town that the letter shows up in the mail. Mm-hmm. If it doesn't, then you're basically knocking on doors saying, hey, this is me. We're with RAGBRAI. But it makes my job so much easier when you get a letter and it says, hey, we want to host, and you look at your map and it's a big star in the map. It just helps that process out really, really easy. But it is stressful. I mean, there's a lot of things that need to fall in line before we can announce a ride and a route in January. And if you don't get all the overnight towns locked in, you are not announcing anything. So, but no, I think, it will be a challenging route this year. We'll get on roads that riders haven't seen for a very, very long time. And it'll bring back a lot of hopefully positive memories of climbing all those hills.
Yeah. I'm so excited. And I just want to, with that, say one more time, please train.
Yes.
Please train for this ride, because you'll be so much happier. You'll enjoy it so much more.
Well, especially if you're talking almost 19,000 feet of climb. So to recap, we've got Glenwood, Red Oak, Atlantic, Winterset, Knoxville, Ottumwa, Mount Pleasant, and Burlington. And of course, Matt, as we go forward, you're going to be connecting those dots with all the in-between towns. And we assume you will want to happily come back on the podcast.
I think so. I feel like coming back.
We'll do a deep dive, and that's actually one of our most popular episodes, where we'll really get into all the different communities in between. But I guess one of my last questions is, when do we find out about the bands?
So we will announce, the plan for us is early April, we'll announce all the pass-through towns. So everybody knows exactly where we're going. And then because of how our model changed this year, we've kind of pulled back from what we're doing from the concert series. The concert series for the 50, we wanted it to be epic.
Yeah.
And it was.
And it was epic. But what we learned was you don't need epic bands to have an epic concert.
Sure.
And you don't need to invest, epic money to have an epic band. So what we decided to do, we decided to change our business model, and we are giving overnight towns $50,000 right out of the gate to book their own band.
Oh.
We're going to partner them with our agencies, stage and production, to give them the best deals on all of that. And we're going to kind of just be there as a silent partner, be able to give input and help them steer them in the right direction, and allow the community and the committee to find the right band.
Yeah.
And I think that, looking right now, hopefully it's going to be a home run. It was fun, being the concert promoter that we were last year, but there was a lot of things that, not having that on our plate this year will free us up to do other things. But I think it's also something that the town wants to showcase, because there's a lot of local talent that are known for these areas that they want to perform. And if we bring them a band that, doesn't make sense, then they don't have the ability to do that. So, giving them money out of the gate, like I said, it's $50,000. It's the most we've ever given these towns to invest in their community. They're going to use that money to pull off their event and do that and book their talent. But yeah, as soon as they're ready to announce, they'll announce, and we'll share it on our platforms and push it out there too. But there's already talks of some bands that have already been proven on RAGBRAI, and these communities are already starting to reach out to book the talent, because obviously with that season, that's already rocking and rolling. People are already getting booked
That's
out.
That's awesome. So. I love that.
It's really fun this way, because it really adds to that, even more to the flavor of each town that we visit. Mm-hmm. Shows off the character of the town and just adds a little bit more. I don't know. It's cool when they book their own bands, because it really shows their personality.
For sure.
I love it.
Well, thank you, Matt, for coming on the podcast. It's always a delight to have you chat with you about the route, about RAGBRAI, and anything bikes.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and congratulations on nailing down RAGBRAI 51, where I'll speak on behalf of all the riders. I'm pretty excited to pedal my bike across Iowa.
Fantastic.
Thanks for tuning in to the Just Go Bike podcast. Murph and AP will be back next week. In the meantime, check us out on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and X, formerly known as Twitter. And if you would like to contact Murph and AP with a comment about the podcast, or maybe you have a topic in mind, email them at justgobikepodcast@gmail.com. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast. especially if you're a fan. Until next time,
Just go bike.
Theme song by Ryan Steer, logo by Suzanne Milosevic, produced by Kathy Murphy, social media by Andrea Parrott, intro by Pumpkin. Until next time, just go bike.